So what is up, guys? Today I'm going to be discussing the two major reveals Naughty Dog had at PSX, or the PlayStation Experience, which is just a convention where they show off all the upcoming titles that are coming to PlayStation. And the first thing Naughty Dog showed off was Uncharted Lost Legacy, which was the single-player DLC that was promised to us a while back for Uncharted 4. And there were a lot of rumors swirling around in advance that the DLC was going to be about Sam. And to me, that kind of made the most sense, and Sam was kind of the newest character to be introduced in the Uncharted family. We didn't really know much about him, and to me, Sam kind of doesn't make much sense personally, because in Uncharted 3, we kind of got to explore Drake as a kid, and the way they're portrayed in Uncharted 3 was, oh, here's Drake as a kid, he was on the streets, barely making it, and so suddenly he meets Sully, and Sully takes him under his wing and shapes him into the man he is, today or whatever. And then in Uncharted 4, we go back to Drake as a kid, maybe a little bit younger than he was in Uncharted 3, where he was a kid and he was in an orphanage, and his brother went to that orphanage too, and he kind of left him there because he found this really good gig and he was going to help him out or something like that. It didn't really make much sense to me that Drake would literally never discuss the fact that, oh, hey, I had a brother way back when I was a kid, to like Sully or Elena, since, I mean, assuming he talks to them all the time, and it kind of seems weird you would omit the fact that, hey, I had a big brother back in the day, and then he kind of just died on a job with me and this guy named Rafe. I mean, it kind of seems like a big thing to omit that you have a brother, but I mean, I don't know. I thought the DLC with Sam would make a lot of sense. Maybe it could rectify some of the, to me, nonsense that suddenly Drake has a brother that he failed to like mention in Uncharted 2 and in Uncharted 3. I don't know, but it turns out actually that the DLC is about Chloe, which surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people really didn't know what the DLC was about, but it turns out it's about Chloe and Nadine. Nadine being the villain in Uncharted 4 that worked for Rafe or whatever. And I guess it takes place after Uncharted 4 story is concluded. So I guess after the whole, debacle that happened in Uncharted 4, after that, I guess Nadine and Chloe decided to team up, and they're going on an adventure to India. For what? I have no idea, obviously, but they said it's going to be very Uncharted-esque. Chloe's a little bit different from Drake. Drake's a big brawler, he gets in there, gets his hands dirty, punches people, shoots people. Chloe, I guess, rolls a little bit differently. We'll have to wait and see how that means, what that actually means. They said there'll be more emphasis on driving, since I guess Chloe's an expert vehicle driver or something, and she kind of did mention that if you play the other Uncharted games. She's mentioned that she's usually the getaway driver. That's kind of what she's best at, so we'll have to wait and see if that makes its way into the gameplay. But it's going to play basically like any old Uncharted, and like I said, I'm really excited for this DLC. Any Uncharted content's good news for me, since I absolutely love Uncharted. I think this might be a response to the fact that in Uncharted 4, there was no Chloe. You kind of read a note that Chloe sent to Drake in the single player, but there was no Chloe to be seen in Uncharted 4 single player. So maybe this is something that they look to rectify. So now we have an entire DLC about Chloe, since a lot of people love Chloe. I think she's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to playing this DLC. When it's going to drop, we're not really sure. I'm assuming 2017. And they did say the DLC was going to be longer than Left Behind, which is the DLC for The Last of Us, but shorter than Uncharted 4. Which to me personally is kind of vague, because I mean, Left Behind DLC wasn't really that long. It was good DLC, short and sweet, but obviously it's not going to be as long as Uncharted 4, which was a full game. So I mean, I'm not too worried. It's Naughty Dog. I'm sure it'll be an amazing single player experience. I'm really excited to see what kind of tale they'll be telling with Chloe and Nadine, and why exactly they're teaming up in India, doing what. They showed off a little in-game sort of trailer. There was some, I think, in-game gameplay it looked like. I think mostly it was like a trailer or whatever, but I'm really excited, really looking forward to this. I am very curious. They haven't really confirmed it, but I mean, I'm assuming since with the Uncharted 4 Season Pass, we haven't really gotten much content out of it. If you have the Uncharted 4 Season Pass, which I have, all I got was, a P90, I think some other stuff, some coins to spend. That was about it. I mean, they did say with the Uncharted 4 Season Pass it was going to secure you the Uncharted 4 single player DLC, but they kind of have stated this is kind of a big DLC, kind of it's taken its own form, kind of its whole own game, kind of. So I mean, hopefully this Uncharted Lost Legacy DLC is covered by the Season Pass. Naughty Dog hasn't confirmed this, so if anyone out there, could ask Naughty Dog, hey, is the Uncharted Lost Legacy DLC covered under the Uncharted 4 Season Pass, or at least confirm it or deny it, that would be fantastic for anyone, in the know or whatever. But the other major announcement that Naughty Dog showed off at PSX was the announcement of The Last of Us Part 2. And I mean, I don't think anyone saw this coming. I didn't really see this coming because me personally, I knew they were going to make another Last of Us. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer to me personally because it was such a huge critical and commercial success. I mean, everyone loved it. Everyone praised it. To me, Naughty Dog would have been a fool to not make another Last of Us. Whether it would be about Joel or Eddie, Joel and Ellie, excuse me, wouldn't really matter to me. They could have made a Last of Us about totally different characters in the post-apocalyptic world trying to survive, avoid the infected and all the other crazy people out there. It would have been fine by me, but it looks like we're going to be continuing where we left off in The Last of Us a couple years after The Last of Us 1. It's still about Joel and Ellie. Joel's a little bit older, you know. She's got a tattoo now. She's 19 years old, whereas in The Last of Us, I think she was 13 or 14, something like that. She got a tattoo. She killed a bunch of dudes in the house, and she plays the guitar. I mean, if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch. It's fantastic. Incredibly well-constructed trailer. Very atmospheric, very cool. But I'm very much looking forward to Last of Us Part 2 since The Last of Us was a phenomenal game. Not just single player, but multiplayer. A single player was an amazing story. I know there's this little thing right now where people are going online saying like, oh, well, The Last of Us was a complete story. It was fantastic. You need to make a part 2. But me personally, I have no doubt in my mind The Last of Us Part 2 would be an amazing story. Naughty Dog always creates amazing single-player experiences. So I'm not worried in the slightest. Neil Druckmann already stated, just trust us. And trust me, I trust you guys when it comes to single-player. You guys make amazing stories, and I'm really looking forward to the story you have to tell with Ellie being a little bit older, and it looks like Joel's there. There's a couple fan theories out there about Joel, but I'm not going to go into that, spoil it. I'm sure the single player will be phenomenal. But in terms of multiplayer, I absolutely love The Last of Us 1 multiplayer. It was very basic, very clean, very addictive, very fun, pretty unique to be honest. It was very bare bones, very, you know, survival-esque. Here's a gun, here's some stuff you can construct, some med kits, you can get this stick or a bat, you can whack people. There were some axes, and there's Molotovs you can construct, there's like nail bombs and stuff, and it all worked really well. It was very strategical, very slow paced. I know a lot of people who played Uncharted multiplayer weren't really a big fan of Last of Us multiplayer because it was so different, so, you know, a little strategical, a little bit more slow paced. A lot of Uncharted multiplayer fans really didn't like it. Me personally, I absolutely adored it. I thought it was an amazing multiplayer experience, and I really do hope they revisit it. I hope they make The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer really good as well. I hope they don't stray away from what made it so special, very basic, very survival-esque, because, I mean, naturally with a sequel, you have to add more. I mean, that's just how it is. You have to add more content, you know, to make it seem like you're progressing per se. But when you add more things to a multiplayer game, you add more variables, you increase the risk of it just being more unbalanced and more tricky to balance for the developers. I mean, The Last of Us multiplayer was very basic, very clean, and it wasn't really that unbalanced. I mean, if there were a couple things here and there, like the semi-auto at launch and a couple of other things, but Naughty Dog got on top of that very quickly, and I feel like The Last of Us multiplayer was a very elegant, very basic, very clean, very well-balanced multiplayer compared to Uncharted 3 anyway. And even Uncharted 4, I feel like The Last of Us is more balanced than Uncharted 4. So when we're talking about Uncharted, or The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer, I am very worried that the more things they add, the more likely it's just going to be less balance. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I can just see it now. With Uncharted 4, they added like AI bots that you can call in, like these little buddies or whatever. I can kind of see it now where you can use the parts, which in Uncharted multiplayer, 4 multiplayer, you have like currency you use to buy in-game store. I can see now where in The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer, you can use like the gears. It wasn't money, it was gears. You can use that to like call in a runner or a clicker or a bloater, which was the infected in the single player. You can just call them in as buddies or something, and they can seek out people in the multiplayer. Oh god, it just sends shivers down my spine, the thought of them adding more AI, since they already did it in Uncharted 4, and I really hope they don't, but I could definitely see it. It would kind of make sense in the context of The Last of Us. I mean, personally, it wouldn't make much sense realistically that randomly an infected shows up and doesn't attack you, it just attacks the enemy AI, since there was the hunters in the multiplayer and the fireflies, and there was this journey and stuff or whatever. But in terms of gameplay, I really don't want them to add too much. I really want to keep it very similar to The Last of Us 1 multiplayer, very clean, very basic, very minimalistic, since it is a survival game, so it makes sense it would be very minimalistic. Obviously, they're going to add new guns, maybe some new tools, since there were nail bombs and Molotovs. They can probably add some other stuff, smoke bombs, very useful tool in The Last of Us multiplayer. They could add, you know, more stuff. I could see them doing that, but I really don't want them to add any AI. I don't want them to add any no-nonsense stuff that they kind of did over time with Uncharted multiplayer. I want them to keep The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer very clean, very simple, very elegant, because that's kind of what made it so special. But in terms of single player, I'm not remotely worried whatsoever. In terms of multiplayer, I am a little bit nervous because with any multiplayer sequel, they're going to have to add more stuff. But The Last of Us is kind of known for its single player. That's kind of what everyone loves, which, like I said, I'm not really going to discuss it too much since I'm sure the story will be fantastic. One major addition I do want them to do in The Last of Us Part 2 is co-op survival, since that's something people asked for in The Last of Us 1 multiple times. They wanted a co-op survival where you'd fight, the runners, the clickers, the bloaters and stuff, and just horde mode style. I mean, it makes perfect sense on paper to me and to a lot of people, so I really hope moving forward with The Last of Us Part 2, they do have a co-op online survival where you can fight hordes of the infected with your friends. I think that would be amazing. A lot of people would love it. I mean, they have co-op survival in Uncharted, like Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4. It only makes sense they have it in The Last of Us, and it makes a lot of sense. The infected just surviving, have limited supplies, and as waves go on, you get less supplies, and there's more tougher infected, more bloaters, more clickers. I think it would be amazing. So I really do hope Naughty Dog adds co-op survival with The Last of Us Part 2, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm sure the game will be amazing. I don't really expect to see The Last of Us Part 2 come out 2017 at all. I could see it at earliest come out 2018. I could even see it pushed back to 2019, which I'm totally fine with. I want Naughty Dog to take their time with The Last of Us Part 2. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for Uncharted: The Lost Legacy? Are you guys as hyped for The Last of Us Part 2 as I am? As always, leave your thoughts and comments below. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.